Hello, it's me, Billy War. This is how I sound like for people who didn't know, and making a little bit of a different video. Been wanting to make it for a while, where I just sort of go through the process of me making a mashup in sort of like a tutorial fashion for anyone who wanted to know how I made it or just want to know how to make a mashup themselves. So, yeah, I'll get into it. And so, first thing I want to point out, I use Mixcraft 8 Recording Studio, which is kind of a weird choice because they came out with Mixcraft 9 a while ago. They like upgraded the software, but I don't really need much of like the new features, and also it's like costs money to like upgrade. So I don't really want to bother with that. But yeah, you can use Audacity if you want something that's like completely free. It's not like the greatest for making mashups, but you can get it to work. You can use FL Studio, which like I know just a lot of people who do stuff with music use that. But you can use it to make mashups too. And yeah, word of advice, if you do want to get Mixcraft, there's like a 2-week free trial. So if you want to just like goof around with it, then you can like use that. If you want to just make like one quick thing. And also, if you do just want to make mashups and don't really care about like making proper songs or anything, you should definitely just get the recording studio because the Pro Studio has a bunch of stuff that I personally haven't really needed, and it's like twice the price. So get the recording studio if you do want to get Mixcraft. So yeah, I'm going to focus on Mixcraft, but if you don't use Mixcraft, basically all of the steps I do are going to be the same. It's just the UI is going to be different. So yeah, get into it. First, you want to figure out what songs you're going to use when you're making a mashup, which for me is actually the hardest part. I like really struggle with coming up with ideas a lot. But for this, I'm going to choose 2 songs which are kind of random, but I like know they're going to work well for this. And I know you can't see the dialogue boxes because of how OBS works, but whatever. You do sound. Yeah, you do sound, and then there's add sound file, and then you can add whatever music you want. So yeah, doing Electroman Adventures V2 and Lightspeed. So very first thing you always want to do, especially if you're mashuping a bunch of songs, you want to turn down the volume because over here this is like the master volume slider. A lot of times I see people make mashups and they have like a lot of songs playing at each other, and if they never turn down the volume, it is just super loud, and B, it also ruins the audio recording because it's like a bass boosted thing. So yeah, turn down the master volume if you don't want to kill your ears. So yeah, not doing anything. This is what the songs just sound like. So yeah, not kinda bleh. We're gonna fix that. The first thing you want to do when you make a mashup, you've added all your songs. First, let me rename the tracks so that they're actually accurate. All right. So you want to go to each song and you sort of want to pre-process it so that it sort of easily fits with all the other songs you want to deal with. So there's 3 things you want to do. You want to fix the tempo, you want to fix the offset, and you want to fix the key. So yeah. So what you want to do, Mixcraft, you double click on a sound file, and it gives you this little menu. And you want to go down here. So first thing you want to do is you want to fix the tempo. You can really do these 3 steps in really any order you want. This is just the way I'm going to go for it. So the tempo. For people who don't know, tempo is basically how fast the song goes. It's measured in beats per minute or BPM. And typically, at least for EDM, songs are like between 100 and like 200. Unless you're using like a particularly slow or fast song. So in Mixcraft, how you want to make sure this is right, you want to go to use project tempo. And what that's going to do, Mixcraft, kind of cool thing it does. I don't think like Audacity is going to have it, but it might. It automatically sort of it tries to figure out what tempo the song is probably at. And if you don't know how to find a tempo or a key, or really don't know what that means, I'll talk about it later a little bit. But just for now, just know that Mixcraft attempts to find it. It came up with 82.5, which is basically half of the actual tempo I want. So I could hit this button to double it, and it gives me 165. And I will note, a lot of times when a program tries to like automatically guess a key like this, it won't be on exactly the whole number. Like here it says 165.0, but if I click it, it's actually 164.986. You want to set it to exactly 165 because, like, you might think, oh, you're just like 0.001 BPM off. Does that really matter? It kind of does matter, because if you're like 0.01 BPM off, by the end of like a 3 or 4 minute song, it will actually be quite significant. So you want to make sure it's exactly right. So yeah, I've done that, and now it's sort of going at the same speed as the whole track, and you'll notice it's actually a lot slower. Alright. Yeah, it's a lot slower because the original track is at 165, and here is where like the master info is, and the master info is at 120, so it slowed it down to be at 120. I'm going to speed it up a little bit, just because both the songs are a lot faster, so we're going to fix that. And yeah, over here is just the master info. It has the master tempo, it has like the master key, and it also has where in the song you are, which is nice. So that's step 1. Step 1B is you want to fix the offset of the song. So you notice while the song is at the correct speed, it doesn't start at the right time. You'll notice there's like a big gap right here where there's no song playing. So how you want to fix that is in Mixcraft, you go to the snap to grid button, and you want to turn that off. And basically, this lets you move the song around freely, because if you have snap to grid on, it'll basically snap it so that it's to whatever lines you have visually, and it depends on how much you zoom in or out what the actual snap is. But yeah, you definitely want to have this on while you're making a mashup, but while you're trying to find the offset, you turn it off. So how you get it right is you want to move the start of the song a little bit later, and you want to zoom in. Electroman Adventures is pretty neat to find the offset of, because you can visually see like all of the beats one after each other. Like these are all the beats of the song. So you can pretty easily go in and make sure it starts. Yeah, let's start here. We'll make sure it starts exactly on the measure. So that now you know it'll start at the right spot. And we want to move it to the left here. We'll notice that this is where the start of the song is. So to make sure it's back to the beginning, we're going to make sure it's back on the grid, move the left so it's here, and move the whole song over to the left. Now it starts at exactly the right point. And now we could test this. We could press M or hit this button, and it turns on the metronome. And so you could play the song, and then you could see it goes along with the beats of the song very well. Yeah, that's very important. I'm going to do it with light speed now. So 158, want to make sure it's exactly 158. Mixcraft is correct here with guessing the song's tempo. It is not always right, so you don't want to trust it 100%. And again, I'll tell you how you could figure out what the actual tempo is a little bit later. So yeah, if we do that here, oh, and again, there's a whole bit here at the start of the song where there's just nothing. So turn snap to grid on, move it over here, and then move it over here. And now it starts at the right spot. Alright, so we do that, and so that's the first 2 of the pre-processing steps. And you'll notice now the songs are like in sync with each other. But you'll notice it still doesn't really sound great. Like, it's still, like, the actual notes, it feels very messy. And that's the last step, which is we need to get the keys right. The key of a song, for people who don't really know, it basically, in a very oversimplified manner, it tells you which notes the song has and also which is like the main note that the song uses. It's called the root note. And yeah, if you're mashuping two songs, you want that to be the same so that the songs sort of agree with each other. And again, MuseScore, if you hit use project key, it'll try to guess what the song's key is. This particular part of Mixcraft, it is like very inaccurate. It like really doesn't get it right very often. But in this case, I got particularly lucky, and both songs do actually have the correct key that MuseScore guesses, which is very nice. So yeah, we fit him that. This one's at A flat, and this one's at F sharp. So now if we play it back, okay, first thing to notice, both the songs are really high. So we're going to take the master key and we're going to turn it down a little bit. And that's a lot better. So those are the three pre-processing steps you want to do. You want to get the tempo right, you want to get the offset right, and you want to get the keys right. So now you might be asking, all right, how do I figure out what the correct ones are? So there's a few different ways you can do it. The tempo is like kind of easily to do manually because first you find a spot where the offset's really good, and then you want to just kind of edit the tempo around until it syncs up. So like if I had it on 162, you'll notice that the starts of the beat get pretty out of sync with the start of the measures quite quickly. So you can like make it go slower or faster, and eventually when you have it right, it'll like sync up really nicely. Yeah. So you can do that. The keys are a lot harder if you don't know music theory to like figure out what they should be. One thing you could do is you could just sort of like move the keys up and down until you like find that the songs you're working with are synced up. But a good solution is, so me and a bunch of other mashup creators, we've been making this spreadsheet. Mostly, I haven't had too much of a big role, but basically it just has a bunch of lists of like over 1,000 songs that like me and they've used from like video games, Just Shapes and Beats, Geometry Dash, Project Arrhythmia, and all that good stuff. Just recently they added a bunch of Friday Night Funkin' stuff. And yeah, from Monster Cat and just a bunch of songs. And it just has all of the tempos and all of the keys for the songs. So if you're just starting out and you know you're using a song that like I or someone else would have used, you can check that out. It probably is on there. Or you could always just try to look it up. You could be like key of and then input the song. I always find that looking it up is not always the most accurate, but it'll do. So yeah. Now that you've had the songs at the correct tempo key and stuff, now you can start the fun part, which is actually making the mashup go well. And I'll use a bit more features. So first thing I want to do, so most of Lightspeed is like a lot louder than Electroman Adventures. And you might have noticed it here. Actually, this is still a bit too loud. Lightspeed is a lot louder. So what you can do is you go over here and you could turn just that song down, and now it should be a lot more even. Here's not the best example, but I do want to make it a lot lower. Now, this had one side effect, which is the intro of Lightspeed is way quieter than the rest of the song. You can like visually see it. Like most of the song is like the full space, so the intro is like really tiny. What you can do to fix that on Mixcraft is you can click on the song. Like there's this little white bar that goes across the whole song, and you could click it to make dots, and you can move the dots up and down. And what this does is it changes the volume of the song. So I've moved the white line up, and now the intro will be a lot louder. All right, so that's pretty nice. So yeah, that's one thing I want to do now. Another thing you want to do is when you're doing a mashup, you typically want similar parts of the song to go at the same time. You want the start of the drop to be the same, you want the build up to be the same, and you want sort of similar things going on. Typically is like a good rule of thumb. So, and this takes a lot of experimenting to like figure out what parts of the song you want to go where, and especially if you're doing more than two songs, which songs you want playing with each other at all. Again, this is not my first take of doing this because I've done a lot of takes of recording. I happen to know what I want to do, so I'm just going to go ahead and do it. In real making mashups, there's a lot of experimentation involved, and that's sort of the fun part. So, at least what I want to do, you have the drop in light speed that like starts here. And I want this part of Electroman Adventures to go with that. So it's like you have the guitar and then it's like boom. So what I can do, you right click a part of the song. Again, make sure to have Snap to Grid on. You right click it and then you can split it, or I guess you can use Control T, and that lets you basically cut the song in half so you can move parts of it around. So the part I want the drop of Electroman Adventures. Where is it? It's right here. So I want to sync that up with the drop in light speed. Yeah. Now that's good. Now it's like yeah, and that's pretty nice. And all right, a few more things. I want the little like fast note part to be the start of this build up. So yeah, you can do that. And again, you probably would need to experiment a lot to figure out what you want to do. I'm just going to go basically straight towards the answer. So, like, you have this part of Electroman Adventures, which is a lot shorter than in Lightspeed. So I'm going to cut Lightspeed so that they're the same length. Rule of thumb, you generally, if you want to keep the structure of the song the same, most EDM sort of has things go in 8-measure intervals, or occasionally 4-measure intervals. So you typically only want to cut it along 8-measure, like every 8 measures, because that's when like a phrase typically starts and ends. So you could do that. That's just sort of a nice guide. Make sure you aren't messing with the structures of the song too much. So yeah, now I do that. Yeah, now it's sounding pretty nice. So it turns out I don't really want to. I'm just going to make it a lot shorter than I would normally make it because this is a tutorial, so I want to find the end. Okay, that's the end of that part. So we're just going to split it there and just boom, get rid of most of the song. Same for light speed. Gonna use the volume thing to make it fade out there. All right, so I'll make it a little bit shorter to get rid of that like piano at the end. All right, and there, I think I'm pretty much done. I think I've done everything that I want to make for like the quick mashup tutorial. So once you do that, you have this whole setup. You do file, and then, well, first you want to save the file. That's kind of important. Although Mixcraft does make a lot of backups. Like basically every single time you save, it will make a backup of the mashup. So yeah, save frequently as always. So yeah, gonna do that. Again, you can't see it. So you save the mashup. And yeah, to actually get it as like a sound file, you go file and then mix down to MP3, and then you could rename it whatever you want. All right, and it takes a little bit to export it, and there you go. You now have the file. So yeah, that's pretty much the basics of how to make mashups. You can do a lot more. You can do, if you want to add more songs, you can do, is it control? Yeah, you can do control G to add more tracks. And then you can like, I don't know, like add more songs if you want. It could be like boom. Yeah, not going to do that here. So yeah, that's sort of the basics. If you have more questions, you could join my Discord and I might answer some of them if you particularly care. I don't know how many people are going to actually use this to make mashups, but there you go. I'm gonna play back the whole mashup to just see how it sounds, and I'm gonna end the video.